Greetings, I'm Sarmatha Tamilmaran. My group mates and I would like to present the making of histopathology slide. Histopathology is the microscopic study of diseased tissue through microscopic inspection of a biopsy or surgical specimen. Histology technique is the set of procedures for the preparation of tissue material for microscopic examination. It goes through several processes which we would like to elaborate more on. Specimen logging is the very first step in histology technique. This process focuses on specimen identification, labeling, and also logging. Tissue specimens received in laboratory must have a complete request form that lists out all the infos that are shown in the slides. They are first cross-checked for the suitability of histological examination, the description of the specimen such as the examination of specimen, weight, measurement, and also consistency is also recorded, and all difficulties such as improper receiving specimens, mislabeled specimens, and other issues that hold on specimen processing may be avoided by following the standard operating procedure. Thank you.
Mice dissection and extraction of organ is the process of cutting the mice open, and taking out the specific organ while tissue grossing is the process of observing the tissue and taking notes on its condition and appearance. Fixation, on the other hand, is the process by which biological tissue are preserved from decay. The duration needed for this process is based on size, consistency of the tissue, and the type of fixative employed. In our practical, this process was carried out as the tissue sample will be cut into an appropriate size if needed before being transferred into 10% formalin solution. The sample of tissue is immersed in the formalin solution of volume at a minimum of 2/3 greater the volume of the tissue to be fixed.
Tissue processing is the technique by fixed tissue that are made suitable for embedding within a supporting medium, which is paraffin, and it consists of 4 steps, which is dehydration, clearing, infiltration, and impregnation. For the procedure, firstly, formalin fixed tissue will be immersed in 50%, 70%, 95%, 100%, and 100% of alcohol, and xylene 1 and xylene 2 for tissue processing according to time. In 50% and 70%, the alcohol will be immersed for 30 minutes, while in 95% of alcohol and 100% of alcohol twice, and xylene 1 and xylene 2, the immersion will be for 1 hour respectively. The infiltration will be continued by using molten paraffin for a certain period of impregnation.
I'm SYARIFAH, so I will talk about the embedding process, which is embedding is a technique of enclosing the tissue in a mass of embedding media using a mold known as embedding. Because the tissue is very thin, so it requires a supporting medium to be embedded in. In this lab, we're using paraffin wax as a supporting medium. First of all, a piece of tissue specimen that was left in a paraffin thermal unit was transferred into a molder by using a warm forceps. Next, it proceeds with the tissue being embedded using the embedding machine, and once it's done with the embedding, the tissue paraffin block was frozen on the cold plate before the tissue is ready for section. Thank you.
Step 5 is sectioning. So sectioning is the process of slicing the paraffin embedded tissue specimens into thin slices. This is then followed by fishing and mounting those sections onto a microscopic slide to be stained and viewed under a light microscope later. So first, the paraffin embedded tissue block is trimmed using a scalpel, and then it is placed on a rotary microtome. The thickness section is set to 20 micrometer, and then it is trimmed until the desired specimen plane is received. After that, the section thickness is set to 5 micrometer, and then it is sectioned, and once the ribbon formation is received, forceps and paintbrush is used to pick it up and place it on the flotation water bath, and then it is fished using a microscopic slide at a 60 degrees angle and mounted onto the microscopic slide and left it on the slide warmer to be dried for staining.
Staining is the procedure of coloring tissues by using dyes in order to enhance the tissue contrast and highlight important features of the tissue. It allows visualizing cells and extracellular matrices to be studied with light microscopes or other microscopes that are appropriate according to the dye used. The most common staining is done using hematoxylin and eosin. The microscopic slides were pursued with tissue staining by immersing it using forceps according to the solution and time listed in the table. The stained slides were removed from the coupling jars and they were viewed under a microscope for a final check of stains before mounting. Then, the slides were dipped in xylene to colorize the fade-in slides. Immediately after drying, they were protected with a drop of DPX. Placing the cover slip at 45-degree angle to the slide, it was gently dropped onto the slide to avoid bubbling. Once the slides were dried, they were observed under 40 times magnification. Finally, the results were observed and recorded.
Good day everyone, my name is Nithya and I'll be explaining about microscope slide viewing. So we use light compound microscope, and for this step it is important that the microscope is handled correctly. For example, the microscope should be lifted with both hands, one supporting the arm and the other supporting the base. So for the observation, we first ensure that the low objective lens is in place, and then we secure the slide on the stage using the stage clips and then begin the observation. The observation was repeated using the medium and high objective lenses. Moving on to microscope slide labeling, usually after a slide is prepared, the slide will be labeled with a sticker containing necessary information like type of sample and date. This is for identification and also storage purposes. For recording of data and reporting purposes, we have noticed a few artifacts on our micrograph, which we then labeled and then compiled the data into a report including the possible causes of the artifacts, which will be a reference for us in future to avoid mistakes. So that's all from me. Thank you so much.